I've got a quiz question to ask you right here. Let's say you've spent a long day on the ski slopes, maybe in Switzerland, or you're down in Southern California, you've been on the golf course all day long. Ski slopes or the golf course. And for some reason, it just wasn't convenient to eat lunch. Cafeteria lines down at the lodge were too long, and the snow was just too perfect. So you stayed out all day. But now it's 5 o'clock. The chairlift's closed. You put on your skis up on the racks there and taken off those great big heavy Nordica boots, and all of a sudden, wow, you realize that you're starving. That rush of hunger hits you like a snow avalanche off the mountain. You want food. Boy, you want it right now. Now, here's my question. What would be your inclination? To recline in the back seat of your car and simply wait, or to begin rushing around looking for food? A supermarket, a convenience store, a tree with bananas growing on it, anything. Well, I can guess your answer. When that kind of hunger hits, we move into action, don't we? We rummage around for food. If you don't have money to buy food, you begin looking frantically under the sofa cushions, hunting for loose change. Kind of desperate action moves most of us. Well, now back to our Galilean hillside where Jesus and his 12 disciples and that little boy with the lunch of those 5,000 people are congregated together. After a long day of wonderful fellowship and worship and healing and stories, we find 5,000 starving people all thinking about the same thing. Where's that meal going to come from? What's for supper? And Jesus gives some very interesting instructions to his disciples. Tell the people to all sit down. All the people in that vast multitude were just quietly to sit down in groups of 50 and 100 and do nothing. Now, I don't know about you, but my wife Jeannie can tell you how I probably would have reacted to that announcement over the PA system. Sit down and do nothing? Hey, we're starving. Let's hike down into town and get some food. Let's take up a collection for pizza. Let's beat the bushes for raspberries or something. Let's head out to the Sea of Galilee and catch a few fish. At least the biggest and meanest of us could have some supper. But no, Jesus tells everybody there to simply sit down and rest, to wait and see what he would do, to trust him to supply all their needs. And right here in the heart of this story, we see a glimpse of the gospel message of Christianity. You and I have a natural inclination. Do something. Scurry around to resolve our own sin problem. Take part in some activity that will earn me salvation. Make a checklist. Climb up the ladder. Our first instincts are to perform some deed, accomplish some work that will enable us and entitle us to a ticket to heaven. But Jesus says to us, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." That's in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, just a few chapters earlier in this story of Christ's miracle on that hillside. And I believe he wanted to teach all those people the lesson of trusting in him for their salvation. See, the core message of the Christian faith is that salvation is provided by Christ as a free gift. Ephesians 2, 8 and 9 are the Magna Carta of our faith. Listen, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Salvation is the gift of God, given at the hand of Jesus. Just as those pieces of bread and fish kept coming and flowing and coming and flowing from Jesus' hands, salvation flows from the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross of Calvary. And so we find real meaning in these instructions of Christ. Sit down on the grass. Rest. I am here with you. I will provide all that you need. Come, for all things are now ready. You know, I have to share an honest confession with you. As an Adventist pastor, I really do treasure the gospel gift of the Sabbath. Now, that's part of my Christian heritage. You see, the Sabbath reminds me to rest. Despite my imperfections, despite my failings and my unmet deadlines and my incomplete character, every 7 days, Jesus says to me, Lonnie, sit down on the grass and rest. You're with me. I've provided everything you need. Come, rest. The feast is ready. Every 7 days. The Sabbath is my hillside experience with Jesus Christ. It comes into my life every single week to remind me that Jesus has accomplished my salvation. He's paid the price. Everything I need, He's already done. Lonnie, sit down, He says. Your job will still be there next week. Your evangelistic sermons and television needs and the script committees and those budgets, they'll still be there. Your Christian growth and devotions in the process of sanctification in your life will continue, but now rest. Come. I'm longing for fellowship with you. I've had a few interesting discussions with fellow Christians who ask me, Lonnie, isn't it a kind of legalism to celebrate Sabbath, to keep Sabbath? No way. Listen, the Sabbath means rest. It defines rest. It's the very epitome of laying aside my work and trusting in Jesus and His merits, His sacrifice on the cross. If anything in my life and my experience is the opposite of works and legalism, it's the gift of the Sabbath. I just had to share that with you before we continue. But now, one more facet of this miracle story. Jesus accepts that little sack lunch, 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fishes. Everybody's seated on the grass, trusting in Jesus, you see, to take care of them. And Jesus looks up to heaven and He asks for God's blessing on that tiny little bit of food. Right here's another quiet lesson for us. Jesus, with all of His miracle working power, with the gift of healing and resurrection power just flowing through His fingertips, pauses to acknowledge thanks to His own Father and to point those who were watching in that same direction. You remember how Jesus said several times, by myself I can do nothing. I get my power from my Father in heaven. And here in a quiet way, He demonstrates that those aren't mere words. They're the actual truth. Jesus trusted in God to multiply that food and provide for His friends. How is it with you today? Do you stop to think that the roof over your head is there because of the goodness of God? Do you remember every morning, noon, night, that your meals come to you because God provides them? The story is told of a man who had a dream one night. This man was taken by an angel into a huge banquet hall with hundreds and hundreds of elegant place settings, row after row with plates and bowls and spoons and cups and linen napkins. It looked like hundreds of people must be coming to dinner that night. So the man said to the angel, what is it? Who are all these places for that they're being set for? And he did a quick count, at least actually, well, it took a little bit of time, and he discovered that there are 1,460 place settings. The angel looked at him and said, these are the meals that you had during the past year. 365 breakfasts, 365 lunches, 365 dinners, and even 365 afternoon teas. A total of 1,460 meals, all yours. There was a long pause. Then the angel said, and you never said thank you for a single one of them. Well, does that make you stop and think? It does me. How many meals did you have this past year, even if you don't stop for tea? How many nights in a warm bed? How many times has God caused your heart to beat in your chest? Friend, as we learn the art of stopping to rest on the hillside with Jesus, let's also remember to thank Him for the loaves and the fishes, the blessings, the mountainside miracles that He brings into your life and into mine. What do you say?